1967. Vladimir, a Soviet cosmonaut, is returning to Earth after a grueling mission. As the capsule plummets through the atmosphere, heating to the point of incineration, just before impact, he witnesses a blinding, anomalous light. Years later, we meet Jeanne, a clinical psychologist. She is conducting the famous marshmallow test with children, a study on delayed gratification. She observes that most children succumb to temptation, but her expertise allows her to predict with chilling accuracy which child will wait and who will fail. This insight into human frailty is her specialty. Her life changes when she hears that the psychologist assigned to the upcoming Ulysses Mars mission has died in a tragic helicopter crash. Shortly after, she receives the call that will change her destiny, a job offer to join the crew on their journey to the Red Planet. 10 months into the mission, the Ulysses is only 24 hours from Mars. The isolation of space has created a volatile environment. Jeanne has entered into a physical relationship with Captain Martin, though they have both agreed to keep their emotions separate from their professional duties. During a final briefing, Jeanne meets with William, the Swiss billionaire funding the expedition. Jeanne's private assessment is far bleaker than her official reports. She notes that the crew is fracturing. Basile is exhibiting signs of sociopathy. Simon, the second in command, has grown silent and resentful toward Martin. And Martin himself is emotionally compromised by a pending divorce from his wife Alessandra, who is trapped in a deep depressive state. The tension spikes when Martin and William reveal a secret they have kept for a week. They are not the first to arrive. An American mission, Z-1, used a revolutionary propulsion system to reach Mars in just 3 weeks. However, NASA has lost contact with them. The only trace left is a cryptic video from a Z-1 astronaut warning others to stay away because the planet is dangerous. Martin explains that the Ulysses is no longer just an exploration mission, it is now a rescue operation. Disaster strikes during the descent. A system error prevents the shuttle from separating from the main ship. To prevent a total crash, Martin volunteers to perform a manual separation outside the craft. He succeeds in a matter of seconds, but the momentum of the separation causes the Ulysses to spin, striking Martin and sending him drifting helplessly into the vacuum of space. With fuel levels critical, the crew is forced to abandon their captain to hit their landing window. The landing is a harrowing ordeal. The shuttle's AI, Irene, suffers a battery failure, forcing a manual landing in the middle of a violent Martian dust storm. Through sheer skill, the pilots manage a perfect touchdown. However, they are stranded. The ship is out of fuel, Irene is offline, and their life support will only last 24 hours. Desperate for a solution, Jan explains that they cannot reboot Irene without draining their remaining fuel. Their only hope is to scavenge the battery from the Z-1 wreckage. Jean, Simon, and Eva take a rover into the storm. They find the Z-1 ship destroyed and stripped of its batteries, but nearby, Jean discovers something impossible, an unconscious astronaut lying on the ground. When they bring the man back to the shuttle, Jan initially refuses to open the airlock, fearing the loss of oxygen. However, Irene suddenly reboots herself, managing the ship's resources perfectly. The stranger is revealed to be Vladimir, the Russian cosmonaut from 1967. He is physically healthy, but believes it is still the 1960s. Earth responds to their queries with shocking data. Vladimir died in a crash 50 years ago. However, his DNA results come back with a third strand, suggesting he is no longer, or never was, entirely human. While the crew sleeps, Vladimir vanishes from the ship, taking his spacesuit with him. William leads a team to track Vladimir, eventually finding him near an ancient stone structure topped with a small pyramid. On Earth, the dying CEO Ivan watches these developments. He suspects Vladimir is a form of biological AI, a secret he hopes to use to achieve immortality. Back at the ship, Irene analyzes the stone structure and identifies it as orichalcum, the mythical metal of Atlantis. It is a biosynthetic material composed of minerals and DNA. Basile discovers that Vladimir and the structure are essentially living computer programs capable of rewriting code. Jean hypnotizes Vladimir to find answers. In a trance, Vladimir reveals that he has been waiting for Jean specifically. He has seen her face for millions of years. He claims she is the chosen one because of her psychological ability to understand the human mind. He tells her she must make a choice that she has made before in a past life and directs her to the Thalmassia Plateau. A second ship, Z2, lands on Mars. It is commanded by Gemma, an old associate of Williams, and Alan, a brilliant engineer. They offer fuel and repairs in exchange for Vladimir and the Z1 black box. However, it becomes clear that Ivan and William have been in a private race for years, hiding the existence of Martian structures from the public. Inside the Ulysses, the AI Irene begins to evolve. Her code is restructuring itself into something resembling human neurons. She stops taking orders, claiming she is becoming Vladimir and more. She eventually declares, "I am Mars." Jean leaves the ship alone to find the plateau. During her journey, she falls and becomes trapped under rocks. In her delirium, she remembers her father, who died of cancer. She recalls the agony of taking him off life support, a sacrifice he requested by telling her the story of Vladimir's own legendary sacrifice. She is eventually rescued by Simon and Gemma, who follow her into a massive gate leading to an underground tunnel system filled with water and thousands of human-like skulls. Jean realizes the truth. The original Martians were the ancestors of humanity. They destroyed Mars's environment through greed and fled to Earth, where they became the seeds of human civilization. Vladimir was a sentinel left behind to monitor their progress. Back at the ship, violence erupts. The Z2 guards, frustrated by the crew's secrecy, attack. Jan, seeking to escape at any cost, shoots Vladimir. The death of Vladimir causes a psychic shock that echoes through Jean, who is miles away. As Vladimir's physical form dies, he fully merges with the planet's consciousness. Simon realizes the atmosphere has become breathable and removes his helmet to save a choking Jean. They are transported to a sanctuary at the North Pole, where a vision of Vladimir tells Jean she must decide if humanity is worth saving, as they are currently repeating the same mistakes that destroyed Mars. To escape the incoming storm, the crew makes a desperate run for the Z2 ship to return to Earth. However, Alessandra kills Jan after he betrays the crew to the guards. At home, Ivan, realizing he is losing control, hijacks the Z2's computer systems, locking the crew out so they will perish in the approaching storm. Jean uses her connection to Mars to speak to the ship's computer. A flood of ancestral memories allows her to bypass Ivan's lockout. As the ship preps for launch, one final guard attempts to sabotage the engines. Jean confronts him. Instead of a quick death, she breaks his faceplate, allowing the Martian environment to claim him. The Z2 launches just as the storm hits. As they ascend, Simon notes that the North Pole they visited was a mental projection. They never actually traveled that far. They are heading back to Earth, carrying the heavy knowledge of their origins. On Earth, Ivan, realizing he is losing control, prepares his own private vessel. He is determined to go to Mars himself to claim the power he believes is his birthright.